Well, there you go. There's our new front bumper. Okay. Get those nerds. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Bid Nerds. Hello, my name is John Polnick. I'm your host for your daily nerd on the most interesting cars of the day. On Cars and Bids, I bring a trailer, as well as my buddy and partner, Michael Deeb, right there. Look at that. He's with me here in Las Vegas today. Usually we're in two different states, but here it is. We're in one state because why not? There it is. How you doing this morning, Michael Deeb?
Excellent, JP. Thank you.
All right. So today's kind of a big day on Bid Nerds. It's not a usual thing that we have one of our own personal cars going on one of the auction blocks. And today you may notice I'm on pins and needles over here because my personal 2008 Porsche Cayenne 6-speed manual with all the cool off-roady stuff is going to hit the auction block today with no reserve at about 11 o'clock. So right after we're done with this show, we're gonna log out for a minute, and then we're gonna come right back on, and we're gonna go live and watch the auction as it happens. I'm a little freaking out about that, but yeah, I know, right? It's crazy. And if anybody's new to the channel, what we do here is we discuss the most interesting cars of the day on all the popular automotive enthusiast auction websites, like Bring a Trailer and P-Car Market, and of course Cars and Bids. Some things to look for this week that's actually very exciting. We've got Bradley Brownell coming in on Thursday, going to be joining the show. He's he is one of the original founders of Radwood. Everyone knows what Radwood is, and they are launching a new auction site called Rad for Sale. So we're pretty stoked about that, and we're going to hear from him what that's all about. And he's going to third nerd for us. So he's going to give us his auction predictions as well. So when we make our predictions as to what each of these cars that we discuss will actually auction for, we keep track. And Michael Deeb and we have a little bit of a competition going on. It's kind of fun. Yesterday's cars, how did it go yesterday? What did we talk about yesterday?
JP, I don't know why you keep telling the audience it's a competition. You had a great week last week, and yesterday you picked up where you left off yesterday, kind of kicking my ass down the doc. What do we have? A Google sheet. So anyways, you had a very good day. So our star car yesterday was the 2004 Porsche 40th version 996 with the X50 package. These are numbered Porsches, and you and I both love them. This car, however, shockingly didn't go very far after we looked at it. I said 46, you said 45. The car sold for $39,000, which is not much above where it was at when we looked at it. So in the final hours, that car did not bring a big flurry at the end. Too bad for the seller. Congratulations to the buyer. Well done. JP, you won that one. We also looked at, in preparation for your car closing on auction today on BAT, we looked at a 2011 E2 Cayenne with a manual transmission on Cars and Bids. This car had about 100,000 miles on it. It had light, gentle touches towards the sort of overland, off-road look. By all accounts, a very nice car. And it's interesting how you and I kind of underbid this one. I think we probably just sort of forgot that maybe E2s in general have a premium, not just the manual. So I said 26. You bet the over at 27. And congratulations to the seller. This car sold for $32,250. Congratulations to the buyer, too, but that guy definitely paid a premium, JP. That, by all accounts, is a lot of money for a base E2. You won that one as well.
I just want to throw in there real quick that the owner or the previous owner, the seller of this car, reached out to me and wished me luck on mine.
That's cool, man.
And you can see that some of the people who bid on his are now bidding on mine. So it's awesome. Interesting to see people kind of migrating across the two platforms. So
obviously a small fraternity of enthusiasts that are super into these early Cayennes with the manual transmissions, because these are true unicorns. Obviously, you've had a couple of them, and the people who know. And that's what we do. We nerd out on the more interesting cars and educate our audience of 12 people. So we also looked at a 1986 Porsche 911 Cabriolet. Now, what made this car interesting was the M491 package, which is the turbo look. So this is the wide-body turbo shell, but with a normally aspirated Carrera motor. In 86 and a 915 gearbox. The elephant in the room on this on this particular listing was the fact that they have gone through two odometers without documentation, and the seller or the consignor is guesstimating what the true mileage on this car is. that by all accounts should have smashed this car right in the face. I said 47. You bet the under at 45. This car was still bid up to $52,000 and did not sell at that price. So an interesting listing. I won it, but that auction was a mess.
I don't know. I went back and looked at this one and paid a little attention to it. It turns out as well that, God, this car is crazy. The owner of this car had this car on BAT prior to putting on P-Car Market, which seems like if you're not going to get all the money in the world for it on BAT, you're not going to get anything more on P-Car Market. Sorry, P-Car Market. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, JP, that's the equivalent of running away from a circus to join an orphanage.
Right. I mean, it's like it was absurd. And to P-Car Market's credit, it did make the same money that it did on BAT. The guy walked from $52,000 on BAT. Yeah. P-Car Market also brought the same amount, and it still didn't hit reserve. It's like, what in the world? The guy didn't sell this car. You're out of your mind, dude.
Maybe the next bid for you and I is to guess which platform this car will show up on next, and how many more platforms before this consignor realizes his car isn't worth what he wants it to be because it's a mess. So anyway, onward and upward.
Yeah, maybe he's waiting for a rad for sale, I guess. I don't know.
That car was P-Car, and again, hats off to P-Car getting 50 again for the car, because what that car is worth, that it should have sold for. P-Car did really well with that. On BAT, we looked at an Italian car dear to my heart, a 1976 Lanza Scorpion. This is a really cool car because it's mid-engine and rear-wheel drive, and most of the Lancia sports cars from this era were either V4 or front drive or both. Anyway, neat little car, but not going very far, very fast. I said 12 grand because it was on BAT. You said 10 grand because it was at 7,000 when we looked at it. The car sold for $9,800, which is probably a fair amount for the car. It breaks my heart that these aren't $25,000, $30,000 cars, because the fun to drive factor is off the chart. Congratulations, JP. You won that one. And our last car of the day was on Cars and Bids, a no-nonsense 2003 996 911 Coupe that was just a C2 with 18-inch wheels. Not much more to that. But in any case, I said 26, you said 27. This car sold for $23,200, which I think you and I would agree is a little under the market for these cars, but it was also on Cars and Bids. Maybe this car would have brought your number at 27 if it was on BAT. What do you think, JP?
Yeah, I definitely think platform played a big factor on this one. Porsches are not nearly as strong on Cars and Bids. Heck, I think Porsches are probably stronger in P-Car Market than Cars and Bids, to be perfectly honest. Unless it's a Cayenne. But this one, I think the biggest knock against it was that horrible gray interior. It wasn't that there was anything wrong with the interior. It just was ugly, because that's a terrible color for that interior on the 996. Just not liquid.
And it's a terrible contrast to a silver car. Yeah. That gray would be better on, I don't know, a blue car or something.
Yeah, if it had black or even the Metropole blue that they put in a lot of the silver cars, it would have brought more money. But gray is just like, oh God, snore. Goodbye, a great enthusiast car for someone.
Yeah. 3 wins for you, 2 wins per day. You picked up where you left off last week. Kind of kicking my derriere. But,
I don't know about kicking. I mean, that's just like one. I mean, that's parity as far as I'm concerned. If I get 3 and you get 2, or vice versa, I mean, we're pretty much how much closer? We can't tie unless there's a draw. So, I mean, that, and I see. It seems like the trend is, if you look at our predictions over the weeks and months and stuff like that, it really is just like you get 2, I get 3, I get 2, you get 3, and every now and then one of us will have a streak. It's just like boom, boom, boom. But that seems to be pretty much par for the course. All right, well there it is, guys. That was yesterday's cars. That was a great recap. Thank you, Michael Deeb. Yeah, today. So you're watching Bid Nerds. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and like and hit the share button and notification button and all those buttons that they have on the YouTube machine. You know what to do. All the YouTube people say what to do, so you've been trained. I don't have to train you. So do all those things. Subscribe, like, blah, blah, blah. This channel is, if you're a nerd and you just love to nerd out on cars and you love to talk about cars, and all you do with all your buddies is sit around and talk about cars, I leave this show and then go hang out with my friends or do stuff, and I wind up having the exact same conversation. I'm sitting there going, Are we still recording the show? How many hours is this thing? Because this is all we do anyway. So why not do it on the YouTube, and why not do it with you guys? We want you to join us in the conversation. Let us know what you think about our opinions of the cars, our opinions of the platforms, what you think of our bids and predictions. Sometimes they're crazy off, sometimes they're right on. But the one thing that is consistent and always true on our show is that both Michael Deeb and I are morons. Do not listen to us. Neither one of us know what we're talking about. We just talk about it. So there it is.
So JP, it's so true. I'm in Vegas, and so yesterday after we did the show, we met up for lunch with Rami and Daniel. And we sat down at lunch to discuss, quote unquote business. Yeah. And all we did was defend the 77 Targa, the car you just picked up on what it's going to bring up.
Wait. We defended? I'm pretty sure that was me defending it. You were on the nerd turd all over JP's move buying that barn find piece of crap. And I think by the end of the conversation, I was like, man, maybe I should eat some chips and carb load and just I'm going to get so burned on this car last night. I was like, oh, what did I do?
My God, it's so funny. I jumped in with them and teased you about how much money you think the car will bring, but I also at the end reminded you that I did encourage you to buy it because I think you'll make some money on it. So I played both sides of the fence yesterday. But it was really fun. We sat down at lunch, and all we did was talk about cars. It was hilarious.
Our friend Dwayne Wick from Wick's Garage, I need a front bumper for that car that'll fit over the oil cooler, and so I hit him up. I'm like, hey, you know anybody that's got one? And he sends me a picture of Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's like, yeah, me. It's me. I'm him. He has one, and it's in a beautiful Gulf livery blue and everything like that, and he offered me a spectacular price. I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. Great. And it's right here. I don't have to ship or do anything. It's right there. And then he hits me up this morning. He's like, you're just selling that car. I'm not giving it to you at that price. And he hits me up at a higher price. Thanks, Dwayne. Thanks a lot. He raised the price on me. Would you ever do that to me once you quote a price?
Oh my God. No, that's hilarious.
My friend Dwayne Wick. I love that guy, but dang.
Oh my God.
That's cold. You're just flipping it, so screw you. And he's right. I did buy it to sell it, but I am way deeper into it than I thought I would be. And I am kind of part of me. Now, there is another side of this whole scenario that I haven't discussed with you well, maybe I have kind of with you, but not with our friends Rami and Daniel. Because Rami and Daniel, they've got shiny car syndrome. They can only have super nice things. I'm a dirtbag, so I like Porsches that have bad paint and swirl marks and missing stuff. That's me, right? So I love this car.
As the professor says, a beautiful menage of colors.
A swirling menage.
Such a great line from his DF film. That was awesome.
Probably the best quote ever in the entire series.
So great, yeah.
So what I'm trying to do with this car is get it to a point where I put it together and actually get to drive it for real and go, I'm keeping this thing. That's what I want to happen. I want to fall in love with this car and just keep it in my life because I love Targas and I love slant nose and I love rad. And Dwayne, you're not helping. You're not helping.
Yeah. Dwayne,
now I'm going to have to pay him more for this darn bumper. And
JP, Dwayne has heard that car run. After lunch yesterday, Daniel started it up for me. And you've got this straight exhaust coming off the back of this SC motor. That thing sounds awesome. I mean, I spent $3,000 on a full racing exhaust from Fab Speed on my 3.2. And I think your car sounds better by far.
We're talking about this car, and nobody knows what we're talking about. So we found in the desert a yard find, a 79 Targa. We're going to talk to Bradley about that car because I'm thinking maybe that's a car that we put on Rad for sale, or maybe it's a car that I just keep. I don't know.
A launch car for Radwood, he will love it. I'll be shocked if he doesn't want it. I'll be absolutely shocked if he,
especially when it's. Yeah, I'm excited about it. All right, well, let's hear. We're talking about the cars of yesterday. Let's talk about the cars of today. What's hitting the auction block today? Let's get to the cars, guys. Let's nerd out. We're the nerd out. Let's nerd out. Let's do it.
All right. JP, we are going to start off today with your 2008 Porsche Cayenne 6-speed. This is a no-reserve auction. JP has hung himself out there. His nuts are in the guillotine. But JP, I am just going to start this off on a fantastic note. Despite only being 10 bids, there are 8 different bidders. Your car, with an hour and 19 minutes to go, is sitting at $17,957. And I'm just going to say it right now, JP, I think your car is poised for a flurry at the finish. And I'm just going to go ahead and just lead with my number. I think your car is going to bring $24,000.
Whoa!
The manual transmission, the unique, and I'm telling you, I've never seen another old car with a contemporary Porsche Motorsport livery with custom vinyl that you had created where it says Cayenne in 6-speed manual in Porsche font. This thing looks awesome.
Porsche Next, by the way, that is the correct font for this right. because we do occasionally do work for Porsche. We have access to all their stuff, so we did use the correct font. Sorry to interrupt.
This looks like the 918 hybrid livery or the 919, whatever that race car they raced in motorsport where they dominated everywhere they showed up. You've got the crossbars, you've got a roof rack, you've got the tire, what do you call it, 85, right?
265, 65, 18s, the biggest tire you can put on a Cayenne without lifting it. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it almost sounds like an ad, but did you also put black rings around your headlights to give it
so for people that don't know, so the history of this car, I bought this car literally the day before Luft Cult, Luft 5, right? So we went to Luft 5, and the day before, I was getting my passport renewed so I could go to Germany the day after when you and I were summoned by the mothership to go speak in front of the what was it?
Porsche
Classic Roundtable.
Roundtable.
Yeah.
In Pforzheim, Germany.
And I had been looking for one of these for ages and found one and bought it from the original owner. The car had like just under 100,000. I think it had like 98,000 miles on it or something like that when I bought it. And this guy, I mean, it sounds so funny, the stereotypical story, a little old guy that went to church. And I mean, this guy, the only, this thing, he ordered this. This was probably the cheapest Cayenne ever spec'd out because it had a manual, no sunroof, no stereo stuff, no air ride. It was great. It was exactly what you want. None of the stuff that breaks and all the stuff that you need. I mean, the stick was just great. But the only thing that he had done to the car is he had like little Swiss flag stickers everywhere. He had a Swiss flag sticker on each brake caliper, on each quarter panel. It was hilarious. Awesome. It was like all these so the guy was super Swiss. So that was super Swiss. Say that fast 10 times. It's like. It's a European version of Supreme. So anyways, I removed all that stuff and did my own thing and drove this car for many years. And really, driving it this weekend, I am going to miss this car. I am going to miss this thing.
But
it's like...
Tell the audience now, you've owned this car twice, right?
Yeah. So I drove it for a couple of years and then...
dirted out with all the Dur livery and sold it to a guy in California? Yeah,
sold it to kind of a buddy out there in California. He had it for like 6 months and then decided that he needed more room and, because he's a big mountain biker and he needed more room he has kids, so he wanted to be able to put 5 bikes on the back and he could only put a couple on the roof. So it was like, all right. So he's like, you want to buy it back? So I was like, heck yeah, I do. And so here it is back in my hands and I've driven it the last 5 or 6 months and here we are.
What did he do to the car when he had it?
Did he
spend some money on it?
Yeah, he did a bunch of maintenance stuff, and he's the one, this is the long answer to your question, did I put the eyebrows on the headlights? And the answer is no, I did not do that. That was him, and they are like these plastic rings that go around the headlights, and they're painted, and frankly, they're not very well done. If I were going to keep this car, I would probably remove those, maybe redo them, and because it's grown on me with a black hood. At first, I really hated it, but yeah, I mean, with all the other black stuff, it kind of works. It's interesting too that because a lot of people have said straight up that they're like, well, would the seller be interested in, or would the seller be willing to remove the livery for a buyer that doesn't want it? And of course, the answer is yeah, I'll take all that stuff off, with the exception of the headlight rings because those are glued on there and they're plastic. Yeah, that would be kind of a pain in the butt. But everything else I'd pull off if somebody really wanted to. I think it'd be a shame, but yeah.
Well, a lot of the Carreras from the 70s and 80s had black door handles, right? Black window treatment. Yeah. Your Cayenne has white door handles. There is black rings around your windows, but your B pillar and your C pillar are like a silver finish. If those were black and your door handles were black, I think your headlight rings would work better. Yeah. Especially with you have the like 930 turbo. It's almost like grip tape in front of your rear wheel wells to look like
Yeah.
the rock chips.
The shark fin thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think all that would look good, but your car kind of lacks a few of the black characteristics that some early 911s do. But all in all, your motorsport livery is so contemporary on a Cayenne that is now, I mean, it's hard to believe, JP, your car's 13 years old. And then, of course, great photos. Thanks, Lee Pettit, for helping you. And then the video that you and Rochelle went out and shot is awesome. The commercial's great. So I think your car's going to bring another $4,000, buddy.
I'd obviously like to see that. I am not as confident. I mean, we did see the black Cayenne last week that had a bunch of off-road stuff really rally in the last couple minutes. I was very obviously pleased to see what the 958 did yesterday on Cars and Bids, and seeing that one brought all the money, in my opinion.
Yep.
So to see a rally on this one would be great. Yes, there are 8 different bidders, but a lot of those bidders were early bidders that were bidding way low, and I don't think are players we'll in
see.
The late stage of the game. So I suspect if it's going to find a rally, it's going to be people that have not yet bid.
But
I think
a couple of those early bidders are the ones that bid twice. So
yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, there you go. Who knows? Like I said, if I had to go ahead and make a prediction now, I'm going to say it brings just under 20. So I'm going to say 19,957.
19,957. All right.
Yeah.
I got you.
And let me tell you, buddy, I want to lose this one. I want to lose this one. I really, really want to lose the prediction on this. That would be
JP,
really great if it went for more than that.
My bid's at 24.
If
I win and the actual final selling price is over my bid, I am going to spend the entire show referring to you as "I told you so."
That is, I will take it.
I will step all over you. It'll be awesome.
Well, here's the thing: at your bid, though, at 20, what did you say, 24?
24. Yeah.
I mean, with $24,000. You're not getting one of these anywhere else. I mean, these just don't exist. So your number makes sense to me. I mean, this thing doesn't need anything. The maintenance is all up to date. It's got brand new tires. Those knobby tires on there, I put them on there the day before we shot this video, and I've driven
in the snow.
car. Yeah, in the snow. And and maybe I've driven it 100 miles since. What am I talking about? Maybe like 20 miles since.
You have a second set of wheels with this car?
This car does come with a second set of Audi Q7 black wheels with new tires. Yeah.
Don't you want to change your bid now? Look at all that value. Oh,
brand spanking new front brakes. It has the short lever, which really makes a big difference in how you shift. And one thing that just has not been, I don't know, feel like it's been noted enough. And I gotta, as soon as I'm off of here, I'm going to make some comments on the ad for people. But the GTS steering wheel is such a big deal. You have no idea how incredibly different it makes the driving feel of this car, having that thick steering wheel instead of the normal thin one. And it does come with the original one if you're lame and you want the narrow one, not narrow but thin one. But anyways, this thing is just a blast to drive.
All right, just to wrap it up, oftentimes, JP, we say go find another one, and that applies to your car perfectly well. Despite the E2 being on Cars and Bids yesterday, they're really the only two. The last couple of cool overland Cayennes that we looked at were automatics.
Yep.
And they brought crazy money. So we think, even though it's a smaller audience, there's a premium to be paid for the manual, and I think your car is going to do well. I hope you eat crow tomorrow. So
me too. I mean, I will say it again, and I've said it a million times. I would way rather have a 6-speed manual in the base engine than a Tiptronic in the big engine. I mean, it's just not even. I mean, it's just not even it's the stupidest, easiest choice of all time. I mean, are you kidding? A Tiptronic 8? That's just dumb. When you could row through the gears on this thing.
I'll say this: there's a lot of cars that are on my list since we started doing this show. But if I find a base Cayenne with like a black interior and a manual transmission, I'm going to buy it. But the problem is, I won't find it before you do because you're constantly scouring, and so you'll buy it.
Good luck, buddy.
The only time I get to drive that car is when you lend it to me. So it'll be like that. All right, JP, is that it? Any final words on your list?
Final words is, by the way, this car did go to Area 51, and we did storm Area 51. So aliens may or may not have spent some time in the back of this car.
Yeah, alien DNA in the car. All right, cool.
All right.
Okay, let's jump over to Cars and Bids real quick, and we'll look at this 2008 Audi RS4. RS4, just really neat car. It's got some
man.
miles on it. Out of Atlanta, Georgia, 142,000 miles. These cars, I think, only came manual. They're all-wheel drive, normally aspirated 4.2-liter V8 that makes 420-something horsepower. These cars do move down the road, but they don't handle as well as you would expect. On fast sweepers, they're great, but in tight stuff, there is too much weight over and out in front of the front axle, and these cars understeer like pigs. Other than that knock, they're beautiful to look at. JP, when I look at one of these cars, to me, the way those fenders bulge out with the wide track in the front and rear, it reminds me of a 930, 911. It just has sort of that Coke bottle shape if you're looking over the car from the Zenith. No modifications to this car other than a low jack system. Maintenance and minor wear and tear, an attractive color, especially when you consider the light color of the wheels and the brushed aluminum mirror caps. I actually like the Daytona gray pearl black interior. Like I said, just a miler. No stories, no hidden agenda on this one. Only 8 bids, sitting at 15,800 with over 4 hours to go. I know you're not a big Audi fan, but couldn't you just get it up for a stick shift 400 horsepower sedan?
Yeah, I'm sure it's fun to drive. I've said it over and over again. I love the interiors of Audis. They are designed so well. They just look fantastic. And yeah, the exterior of this car looks great. But, this car I have zero interest in this thing. I just can't be less enthusiastic about it, Audi. If I ran this show and I knew the person that owned Bid Nerds, I would say, let's ban Audis because they're just so damn boring. They're just a child's car. It's just I knock on them. I'm kidding around, but they are unbelievably good. I mean, 400 horsepower with a stick. Of course, that's a great time. I think what bugs me is that when you go to the car meets and it's all the vape smokers and that drive these things, and it's hard to respect when the average owner of one of these is just such a tool. But
a lot of them wind up with an exhaust in tinted windows and aftermarket head unit and stereo. And they open down the window and it smells like
a lot of subwoofers.
Lavender. Lavender tobacco.
And the other thing, of course, is just their horrible reputation for reliability past the warranty. Right. I mean, I look, a brand spanking new Audi on a lease, that's the way to go. As soon as it's not, just make sure it's not your problem when the warranty's up.
Do you remember Henry Winkler played the Fonz and he couldn't say I'm sorry? He would go,
Oh yeah.
It's like your Audi service advisor can't say reliability. He goes, and you're like, what? You say, it's a very car, and you're like, oh, he can't even say it. Let's get out of here.
And as much as I bust Audi's balls here, I mean, it's like, at least they're still better than Volkswagen. I mean, Vagcom, you've got this whole bunch of amazing car companies, and Volkswagen's just completely lost their way. Volkswagen doesn't make a cool car anymore, and now they're going all electric, and they're not even going fun and exciting electric. They're going just well, let's just copy Tesla because why not? Let's do that. Let's go boring econo box electric things. Audi still has that. They've hung on to that sports heritage. All of their cars have always had that kind of even. I mean, when we were young and we were in the 80s, and everyone had big, huge American sedans. An Audi 5000 was a big, huge lumbering sedan, but it still felt sporty compared to every other four-door sedan on the road, and that seems to remain true. So
funny.
Audi. Okay, and I would drive an R8, with a manual for sure. But other than that, where's it going to land?
Yeah, RS4s with low miles still bring ridiculous money. It's not uncommon for a low mile RS4 to see over $40,000. This car, however, despite having no stories, I think it's going to struggle to break 20 grand. So sitting at around 16,000 out of Atlanta, Georgia, I think this car will sell for $19,000, and that'll be well bought. I still think it could be a maintenance headache, but it'll be a lot of fun for under 20 grand. That's a fast car, and it growls.
Okay, with 8 bids to go, lots, like you said, lots of time. It's on Cars and Bids. Cars and Bids does not have the late rallies like you see on BAT as much. They do sometimes, but I think this car's DOA. I think this thing's not going anywhere.
Do you think, going back to what you said about the late rallies non-existent on Cars and Bids, correct me if I'm wrong.
Less likely, yeah.
Cars and Bids also has the shortest timer, isn't it? Like a minute or a minute and a half.
I think it's 2 minutes.
No, it's not. It's very short. I think it's like a minute or a minute and a half. And I'm wondering do you think the lack of late rallies is because of the short timer or because of small audience compared to what BAT's?
Well, I'm not entirely in agreement on how long that, if it's a minute or 2 minutes. I feel like maybe you're wrong on that, but I could be wrong, obviously.
We'll watch one close today.
Yeah. And regardless, I think it's just I think it's the size of audience. I think the size of the audience is fractional compared to BAT. Not that it's particularly small. I mean, Cars and Bids has a pretty darn good audience, especially if you compare it to something like P-Car, who has nobody. There's nobody in the room. It's echo, echo, echo. Whereas, look, this thing has 140,000 miles on it. And time again, we see Cars and Bids cars just like they get a bid the day before and they don't get another one. That's it. That happens pretty often.
All the time. Okay.
I'm gonna say 17, just in case it does get another couple of bids.
Okay,
cool. And I don't know if it sells. Is this a no reserve?
No, it's got a reserve.
It's got a reserve. So my guess is the reserve's probably higher than that because normalies go for a lot more, right?
But normally they have less miles. So
yeah. Fewer miles equals more money. This one is not going to get it because it has high miles. All right, let's move to the next car.
That car needs more flair. All right, we'll jump back over to Bring a Trailer, and we're going to look at a 1987 Porsche 911 Carrera Coupe. Yes. JP, as the educated amongst our audience, 2 of the 12, realize that this one has the G50, the desirable, smooth-shifting G50 transmission. This is a 3.2 Carrera Coupe, which have been a wonderful bright spot for the air-cooled market. These cars have been bringing great premiums. It is worth noting that in August of 2017, which is, Jesus, JP, it's 3.5 years ago, this car sold for just $50,000 with a different set of wheels on it. So clearly the buyer bought this car, cleaned it up a little bit, and brought it back to as stock condition. Offered out of Anaheim, California. We're looking at a vehicle that just has 55,000 original miles in a gorgeous and attractive triple black with the Carrera wing spoiler on the rear and the front spoiler. I will contest that despite having the COA, what we learned from this car, even though it's been brought back to as original, has low miles, has a prototypo, this car does not have a limited slip differential, does not have sports seats. I think those are just the standard seats. And as such, I think that will hold this car back from bringing the absolute premium for this car, which should be within $5,000 plus or minus of around 90 grand. I think this car will suffer just a little bit because we saw it trip for 50 grand a couple of years ago. And the fact that it's missing 2 of those kind of cooler driver options. This car, by all account, is still attractive. It has a Momo steering wheel, air conditioning, and of course the really desirable G50. But JP, where do you think, what are your feelings about this particular car out of Southern California?
Black on black, coupe, G50, 55,000 miles. This is, okay, sure. It doesn't have a option code 220. Big deal. Right. Does that mean it won't bring the absolute top?
I think.
Okay, maybe, but what's the difference between the top and just the top? I mean, we're talking about a few grand, No,
like $13,000. I mean, so, if this car like were not repainted and not and had like the limited slip and the sports seats, this is a $95,000 car or more. Yeah. And I think this car is going to struggle to reach 80 grand. You'll see my bid. But
what's your bid? Let's get that. Let's go. Let's do it.
Well, I think I wrote $78,000.
All right, I'm going way bigger. I'm going 95 because I think coupes are just nuts. This one's triple black. I missed the part where you said it was repainted, so that's a little bit of a worry.
I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that.
It may not have been repainted. If it hasn't been repainted, it's going to make all the money. I don't think anybody. Yeah. I mean, yes, if it were the kind of car that's like, okay, this is going to be a collector car, we're going to hermetically seal it, then those last couple little options are going to be it. But somebody wants this car. And this car is with 50,000 miles is the perfect car to get in and just own and drive and love and drive to the end of the time. I mean, if you have a huge, awesome automotive collection in a warehouse somewhere and you want a daily driver, you're the coolest kid in town if you can afford to buy this thing for $95,000 and just drive it. And I think that's what's going to happen.
All right.
And it's on Bring a Trailer. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
I'm probably nuts on that one, but yeah.
JP, you're in good shape. That's $62,911 on 35 bit. This car is getting the audience. So chances are you're going to win this one. I lowballed it at 78,000, but we'll see. This car should bring all the money.
I mean, we've seen cars with way more miles go in the 80s with coupes. I mean, it's just nuts. Coupes are crazy. Yep. They're crazy, man, crazy. All right, last car of the day, and let's get going because we got to sell a Cayenne.
All right, here we go. So no reserve auction on Bring a Trailer for this 1991 Alfa Romeo 164S. This is a platform that was shared by Alfa, Saab, Fiat, and Lancia. It has a front-wheel drive 3-liter V6, a Busso, Giuseppe Busso V6 that makes about 200 horsepower in the S trim and about 180 pound-foot of torque. 5-speed manual. These cars are actually fun to drive, but man, they are maintenance headaches and really soft in the secondary market. Yeah. Pininfarina did the styling, and by all accounts, even though it's a little off, it doesn't look contemporary anymore. It still has a lot of cladding and has a lot of flair, if that makes any sense. When you look at it, you can tell they were trying to make something special out of it. Slow by today's standards, but still fun to drive. The seats are really comfortable. It's interesting, JP. I'm telling you, there's something about the relationship between the pedals and the seat that feel very much like a Saab when you're in this car. It is really interesting. And then when you dip into that throttle and you're turning, this car has torque steer just like a Saab 900 Aero. It's really interesting how the DNA between the two brands is evident in this particular car. But JP, out of San Ramon, California, with just 58,000 original miles, to see one with this low miles and this nice condition is rare, and yet this car's still going to struggle to bring $10,000. So what do you think? You have any love for this car?
I do kind of like the 164s. I've always liked the way they look. I mean, they landed in that transition from 80s to 90s, and so they were really trying to be that kind of next century look, and they missed, but it's so unique, and that's kind of fun. I mean, this is definitely one of those cars you're not going to mistake it for anything else. That front wheel drive is really the thing that kills this car. Of course, if this were a rear wheel drive car, how interesting would that have been? Having actually attempted to change the spark plugs in one of these, I will tell you, you're absolutely correct. It is not possible. Getting the engine is a 6-cylinder horizontally opposed, and those the 3 cylinders on the firewall side are impossible to reach. It's not going to happen. Awful stuff.
It's a transverse V6 because it's front engine, and it's a nightmare for service, and it needs a lot of it. So there's nightmares all the time with this car. When they drive beautifully, and they actually go around corners on like on a tight road. This is a fun car to drive. This would be a blast to drive up the crest. I kid you not. It's got the torque and it's got the handling, but man, you might break
if
down
it makes it
coast all the way home. Yeah.
Cell service is really difficult up there on the crest, and so you may not be able to get your AAA to get up there or classic car insurance club. Anyways, all right. So where do you think this thing's going to land?
I do think this one, because we just don't see them in this low miles, and there you go again, JP, triple black. So I'm going to say $13,000 for this car out of San Ramon. There have been 164s on Bring a Trailer, but there have not been premiums for 164s on Bring a Trailer. And I'm surprised we haven't seen that. Maybe this car is that one and it brings over my bid. Anything over $15,000 would be a ton of money for this car. I'm sure the book on it is like $5,000. So we'll see.
Yeah. I'm gonna say 11. I just don't think it's gonna find its people. I hope it does. Again, I like to be wrong. I go for rather conservative. I tend to lean conservative, but Yeah. Neat car. It better not be your only car. There it is.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, there it is. That's the most interesting cars of the day on Cars and Bids. Bring a trailer. We are going to take a break, and then we're going to come back and do this live. We're going to try to do this live on YouTube and do an auction close view here. Yeah. So
our close time is 11 a.m. So we'll probably jump on at about 10:02. JP, does that sound right?
Yeah, I think probably earlier than that. Probably let's do 20 till. Let's do the 20 minutes prior.
Okay.
Because if we do that, it'll take us 10 minutes screwing around to get it to work, because half the time our stuff doesn't work. So, all right, guys. Thanks for watching. Check us out tomorrow, and come right back and watch the close of my Cayenne. 6-speed manual, no reserve. That is happening right now. See you guys.
All right.